Let's look at this inflation report and let's talk about how they've been basically just playing political games. And we're going to talk about why the lower gas prices that people have been seeing the past few months is actually a really, really, really bad thing. So you'll see over the past couple months, the only thing you see trending lower on this inflation report is energy. How did they get it down? They started to drain the SPR. The SPR is the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. You flood the energy market, you increase supply, you bring costs down. What do you do when you can't do that anymore? Well, now you just have nothing, or you got to rebuy it. Right now, the market or the SPR is, we've had the largest ever decline in a year, and we still got a quarter and some change left to go. So when you don't have that ability to manipulate this, like you've been manipulating it, what do you do next? Energy costs can skyrocket. They can soar again unless we're in a deep recession by that point, which in no case is this good. So I say it's a political game because when you look at where we are, how does it possibly make sense to put us in this position? It only makes sense for political gains. So with midterms coming up, they don't want gasoline to be at these all-time highs. They don't want CPI to be at the highest numbers we've seen since in the 4 decades. You feel what I'm saying? So they play these games to get the numbers down so they don't lose seats. So now we're facing this harsh reality of having a super low SPR, having to refill it, pay to refill it. And then we're looking at high inflation that they keep just kind of beating around the bush in regards to actually addressing it. So I say that because, like I talked about before, the actual CPI number, right, 8.5%. The Fed is using core PCE, whatever, right? But let's say that the Fed has to catch up to these inflation readings that we see. When you look at the weightings and allocations, it doesn't make sense because how's overall CPI 8.5% when everything is in the teens and then high teens? So today the reading comes out, and let's just take shelter, for example. The shelter index rose 6.2% over the last year, accounting for about 40% of the total increase in all items, excluding food and energy. So CPI today, let's look at core CPI, 6.3%. You look at where the target is for rate hikes. Now the market is pricing in a 24% chance of a 100 basis point hike after today's CPI, when yesterday the chance was 0. Last month, I kind of sent out this message just talking about how a month ago, nobody was even talking about really, it was like a 40% chance of a 75 basis point hike. So when this stuff happens, this is why you see mortgage rates start to just skyrocket, because the Fed is raising rates. But when you keep playing these political games, making it seem like inflation is not as high as it is, the markets don't price that in. So assume that a house could react to this stuff it's hearing as fast as the market could. This is why you have these horrible days. So assume this is a house. Of course, there's not a one-for-one correlation. There's a lot of other stuff to consider, but eventually over time, this is what happens to housing prices. This is what happens to the economy. You feel what I'm saying? Stocks get to address this news like instantly, but when it ain't prepared for something and it's shocked because it's been lied to, fed lies, or just not addressing it, this is what happens. So when I say the economy and the housing market, real estate, all that stuff, not going to do too well, it's because the Fed has to be aggressive and catch up. If we talking about 6-point-some% and we only 2.25, you got a lot of catching up to do. And that's just core PCE, or that's just core inflation. You look at all this stuff, food, rent, electricity, health insurance, this stuff ain't at 6%. You feel what I'm saying? So like, the Fed got a long way to go, and this just makes it tougher for them, makes it tougher for everybody. You got this energy situation going on. So it's just like, man, it's like probably, I tell people it's like a once in a generation kind of thing, and life as we know it will definitely change. A lot of stuff will change. You already see little stuff like Bank of America, Citigroup saying they're going to change. You don't need a credit score, proof of income, some kind of stuff that they saying about no more mortgage insurance, all that kind of stuff, because they know it's hard for people to buy houses. And they got to get that stuff off. They got to make money off them loans. You feel me? So when I say stuff will change, I can't tell you